visors, hood, gloves, everything. And I said, you want to wear these when we dump you through and put you down to the decks of the Eldridge. He says, after you're on the Eldridge, you probably won't need them. But we're taking no chances. You're going through with the suits on. When you get there, you can take them off and do what you want.
But obviously the people there in 1943, upon seeing this suit, scratched their heads saying, where the hell did that come from?
I think the guys on the deck...
well, the ones who did the investigation.
Well, that's another aspect of this.
Okay.
When we arrived back there on the deck, of course, the guys who were on the deck already, for the most part, were too far out of it to pay any attention to us. So, literally, we took off our visors and left our gloves on, found access, and started smashing equipment, primarily the banks of 6L6s to cut the drive to the two huge alternators. Because we knew if you killed that, the magnetic fields would go down, and then the whole support system for the field would collapse. We also knew it would probably take about 2 minutes before the total field was down, and we'd be back, shall we say, permanently relocated where we started from. It was during that 2-minute gap after the generators were winding down, and when everything cleared up, that we saw the sailors on the deck, the two in the bulkhead, fifth man, and Duncan decides to go jump overboard. He jumped overboard before the fields collapsed, or it never happened.
Here's what I haven't figured out, though. You're down below deck when you're actually smashing all the equipment, right?
Partially. Part of it smashed in the control room. I was on deck in the control room, and then part of it went into another room in the back of that, and then the rest of it was below deck. Mm-hmm. So we were smashing primarily the control systems, which are on deck level.
Oh, okay. And that's how you were able to see what was happening with the sailors. Okay.
And then we came back out and saw the sailors. No, we didn't climb down a ladder and come back up. We had to go down one short one into one section for other equipment to wreck it. And then we knew the alternators were down. From that, never say that secondary level below the primary level of the deck, we could see the large alternators and the drive machinery equipment for it, the motor and the gearboxes. We came out and then saw the sailors buried in the deck and in the bulkhead. Duncan decides to run to the deck, across the deck and to the rail and jump overboard, looking at me as he was about to go.
So you think he panicked?
I think he panicked because of seeing Brother Jim and all these other sailors in the positions of dying.
Now, this is important. You've talked to him, obviously, quite a bit since that time, and he's admitted that he has some faint memories of the Philadelphia experiment. Did he ever tell you why he ran off?
Never asked him. Now that I think about it. I don't know if I could get him to answer that now, but the next time I see him, I'll try and ask him that.
That would be a good one to know about.
Apparently he panicked because of what he saw with the sailors and what he sensed or felt. And it was just too much for him. So he jumped overboard, he disappeared, and he went back to the future. See, if he'd waited another minute, he probably wouldn't have gone back to the future. He would have wound up in the drink, fishing out of the bay water. But that didn't happen. And then, of course, the fog cleared up. They saw us. We saw the other observer ships, and then, of course, came the boarding parties, and the rest of it I've recorded. I did not mention one other aspect. After the discussion with von Neumann, and of course, shortly after that, he was called to another aspect of his work to come up to the Los Alamos laboratories and begin the discussions on his involvement with the development of the atomic bomb.
Okay, so we're in 43?
This isn't 43. This was October 43. Probably concurrent with the third test. There was a third test of the Eldridge. They replaced all the wrecked equipment, said we'll put the ship on station, build long cables again, and remove everybody from the ship, and then run the equipment on board the ship for long cables in the adjacent ship. Late in October, one night, they did this, much further downriver, so nobody could be witness to it. Because there were a few witnesses, I'm sure, of that ship disappearing, and they have turned up over the years. But nobody pays any attention to them, basically. And the ship disappeared. Came back about 20 minutes later, minus the cables and when they boarded the ship, minus some of the equipment which was supposed to be operational, and some of it was on fire. So it was at that point the Navy scrapped the project to clean the ship up, convert it for wartime duty, which they did. And it saw war service for a number of years until sometime in '46. In the meantime, of course, other tests were conducted elsewhere, and they were scrapped because they had the same problems. And nothing was revived until late '47 under another code name. Von Neumann was given the task to see if he could revive the project, find out what went wrong, and perhaps come up with a system that worked, which he did in 1953. But in that interim, I was sitting around, literally, in a Philadelphia Navy Yard with like a bump on a log, with essentially nothing to do. Just little chores here and there.
This is October?
This was in October of 1943. Another thing that was happening at the time was that my girlfriend was pregnant. The Navy refused to allow me to see her. Didn't even want me to talk with her on the phone. Didn't want me to communicate with anybody off base because of this Philadelphia experiment problem. It was a very serious problem. They didn't want anybody to know how serious it was. They were afraid I would talk if I got off base or anybody else got off base. There was full restrictions on us. We were quite literally under house arrest, would be the best way to put it, on the base.
Yeah, but think how many people they would have had to done that to, because they had 3 ships,
about
the carrier?
About 25.
What about the people in the carrier and the other ships?
Same thing. Anyone who witnessed what happened were in the same condition of house arrest. The captain, Harrison, probably was not. Von Neumann, of course, was not. They knew they'd keep their mouths shut because they were at a higher level of clearance, and said, I will, more than once, I will keep quiet.
So obviously then there are still a lot of people out there who have actually seen this experiment happen.
There may be a few left. I would say perhaps not over, my guesstimate now would be 3 or 4.
That's all?
That's all now, yes. But anyway, I had a pregnant girlfriend, and I said to Neumann, I said, look, I want to marry her. They won't let me off base, won't let me see her. He says, can you arrange something? He says, let me see what I can do. But Neumann was very helpful, and he had a lot of clout at that time, even on the Navy base. So he arranged, actually, because I did still travel back and forth from the Navy base to the Institute of Advanced Study, because he was still doing some communication and work back and forth. He finally arranged that I would be married to my wife